You have all the men in this family to yourself.
Oh boy, seems like Evil Dead has gotten the most twisted movie in the franchise, and Sebastian Vanacek has fulfilled his promise of giving us a sick movie. The French director from the suburbs of Paris previously said, "It's perhaps the least bloody of the Evil Dead films, but undoubtedly the most violent and brutal." Let's say I'm aiming more for the discomfort of the famous teeth on the sidewalk scene from American History X than excessive gore. And early reactions on social media are showing the movie with all kinds of positive adjectives. Insane, savage, grotesque. Yes, for an Evil Dead movie, these are very assuring. I know it's safe to take social media reviews with a pinch of salt, but there hasn't been any major complaints so far. And guess what? It even made moviegoers feel physically uncomfortable, as a film critic at @WeHo Times noted, "Evil Dead Burn is a relentlessly savage bloodbath that basks in its razor-twisting, stomach-churning brutality. It's exactly the grisly, nasty experience Sebastian Vanacek set out to make." A guy 2 seats over from me audibly gagged during one scene. I can't imagine the boundaries Vanacek has crossed, and what a nightmare this movie has been for the censor board. Okay, I can't keep calm anymore, so here goes all the amazing early reviews about Evil Dead Burn shared by the critics and audiences who got to see the early screening.
To your perfect family.
Ever since I watched the trailer, it became clear that Evil Dead Burn was not going to play nice, and it pointed out that this movie would be taking the franchise to some seriously twisted places, and it has done so successfully. I guess by now we are familiar with the film's premise and know that it revolves around a woman who, having lost her husband, seeks comfort with her in-laws in their secluded family home. But the infamous Necronomicon, the version of which we are still speculating, gets its way into the family, and one by one the people around her start turning into deadites, and turns the reunion into a horrific incident as the woman comes to discover that the vows she took in life live on, even in death. The film is being highly anticipated for its unique use of sound and Vanacek's willingness to put all the possible violence and nastiness on the table. An MPA-accredited critic, Junior Felix, took to X and summed up his experiences by saying, "Evil Dead Burn is relentlessly twisted, and I wanted more. It's 110 minutes of non-stop nasty mayhem that's filled with blood-curdling, horrifying sequences that left me squirming." Sebastian Vanacek scares the shit out of you, visually, but uses sound in a way I've never experienced. Bill Bria echoed a similar sentiment about the film's use of gore and said, "Mean, nasty, and quite possibly the most brutal film in the series? That's hashtag Evil Dead Burn, baby." Sebastian Vanacek brings a new French extremity edge to the Deadites, one which cuts deep emotionally and physically. Its sick sense of humor makes it the perfect new member of the family. Yes, Evil Dead has often applied a warped sense of humor, and thankfully, Vanacek got the memo because another critic Aaron Neuwirth, wrote on Blue Sky, "This has remained a consistently fun, brutal, and darkly humorous horror franchise. Director Sebastian Vanacek certainly brought a very welcome French sensibility. The editing style is a lot of fun, and there's plenty of gnarliness." That's extremely reassuring for old fans, because the 2013 and 2023 movies were pretty dry on the comedic elements, and we know for a fact that Evil Dead does have somewhat of a horror comedic lineage, especially with Army of Darkness and the television series Ash vs. Evil Dead. There's yet another commendable review on the movie's dark humor given by the co-host on Nightlight, a horror movie podcast, Friedrich Nuti, as he posted on X, "Evil Dead Burn is nothing less than spectacular. It's brutal, bloody, and really funny. The family delivers at full speed and brings true terror. Sebastian Vanacek directed the hell out of this. Amazing performances and an incredible story. A perfect entry to a perfect franchise." YouTuber Chris Parker also hailed the film's ability to induce weird laughs by saying, "Evil Dead Burn ramps up the gore and laughs for one hell of a time. This time around adding bits of fun lore while taking the carnage to brutal levels. That's very unforgiving to the cast. Must be seen with a crowd for the reactions. Another huge win for the series. Loved it." I don't want to sound mean, but I understand the pleasure of watching these kind of movies with the right crowd who would either appreciate the hell out of it or leave the theater traumatized. Either way, it feels like a social experiment, not gonna lie. However, the new movies in this franchise followed an out-and-out brutal horror approach and toned down on the humor, and according to critic Matt Donato, it seems like Vanacek took some serious notes from the gore of the 2013 soft reboot. Evil Dead, which gave the B-movie series mainstream success for the first time and was known for being overly and unapologetically brutal. Donato took to Blue Sky to note, I have seen Evil Dead burn and holy meanness overload. Clear comparison is Evil Dead in terms of ferocity, gut punch horror, and full throttle malevolence. Sebastian Vanacek brings the propulsive energy and manic momentum of Infested to Evil Dead. His all-gas approach is wild, wicked stuff. In fact, we also have Brad Miska from Dread Central, who held the movie to 2013's Evil Dead's pedestal and shared his thoughts by saying, Evil Dead Burn rules. It's right there with Evil Dead Rise for me. Just wall-to-wall gore, gross-out insanity, and scenes that had the whole theater either laughing or squirming. More than once I caught myself wondering, how the hell is this only rated R? But the most important part is, Evil Dead Burn does not disappoint the fans of the franchise and has been termed as a worthy entry into Sam Raimi's Evil Dead universe. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little skeptical of how Vanacek is going to handle all the bloodshed and graphic content. I mean, he had to make sure to not overdo it to a point that it faces backlash, and on the other hand, he had to live up to the legacy of Evil Dead's explicit violence. But thankfully, the movie has found the sweet spot and has beautifully incorporated both horror and fun. That Hollywood show's Hunter Bolding wrote on X, the most consistent horror series continues with a gross, mean-spirited, insane, and exceptionally satisfying entry. The subtext hits as hard as a truck with some sequences that made me yelp with glee and horror. Perry Nemiroff from Collider also had a similar feeling about Vanacek's directorial and lauded his subtle use of nostalgic elements in the film by writing, the Evil Dead franchise continues to thrive. Evil Dead Burn is fantastic. Director Sebastian Vanacek is an absolute ace behind the lens. He embraces the traditional Evil Dead style and then packs his film to the brim with downright brutal and wildly creative set pieces. And every single one of them is an absolute banger. Interestingly, even amidst all the gruesomeness, Vanacek has managed to keep an emotional backbone to the story. Pop Culture stated, Evil Dead Burn is both incredibly gory and incredibly emotional. The film of the summer for slasher fans. Sebastian Vanacek takes the helm and lives up to the spirit of the franchise. However, Vanacek has himself stated that he has complete creative control on Evil Dead Burn, but also that he has given it a French twist. A leading Rotten Tomatoes certified film critic, Peter Gray, wrote on X to say how Vanacek has literally crossed all limits and wrote, Evil Dead Burn is gloriously mean-spirited and violent to the point it might even be offensive. It doesn't stray from the series formula, but its dark humor, hard R rating, and some killer tracking and one-shots give it personality. I winced and had a ball. Now, for those who are not really into following franchises, don't worry, because it appears that Evil Dead Burn has somehow broken that inhibition too. And Scott Mendelson, the box office columnist at Puck News, shared, I'm a series agnostic, but Evil Dead Burn, oddly the first I've seen in a theater, is a stupefyingly well-crafted and superbly staged Krishna with Deadites in the new French Extremities sandbox adventure. It's a terrific big-screen crowd-pleaser and an unto-itself triumph. Producer and journalist Simon Thompson, too, stated that Vanacek has really gone visceral in this movie, and to quote him, Evil Dead Burn is seriously nasty and pretty fucked up. It's relentless, jaw-on-the-floor nightmare fuel. Director Sebastian Vanacek goes hard and delivers a dark, unhinged, and tactile vision that does not hold back. Also, there's a post-credit scene that you won't want to miss. Okay, that's an important piece of information, and honestly, making us sit after what sounds like putting us through a heart-wrenching ride is just crazy, dude. Now, there are some who could not wholeheartedly praise the film, but no, that doesn't translate to they hated it. See, the thing is, for many Evil Dead fans, the previous movies have set a benchmark, which is very difficult to reach, and the Nerds of Color pointed the same thing, though saying that the film is a gloriously gory good time. Moreover, we finally got a take on the much-awaited performance from Soheila Yacoub, because Vanacek said that her character, Alice, would be the heart of the film and handpicked her. The director explained, when we created Alice, we wanted a character who's really grounded. He said, she's mourning someone, she arrives in this house, and crazy stuff happens. I wanted to create characters that are behaving like it's real life. And the Nerds of Color has finally revealed that the movie has a terrifying performance from Sohelia Jakob and a thoughtful message about abusive relationships. Personally, I have been a fan of Jakob ever since the French drama of 2021, The Braves, and she also did a commendable job as Shishakli in Dune Part 2. Anyway, it seems like we are in for sleepless nights after watching this movie, and those who are not comfortable with gore, prepare yourselves. Alright guys, that's all we have for today. I will now be counting days to July 10th because, holy crap, I am now convinced that Vanacek has indeed put all the horror he had inside of him. Let us know how excited you are in the comments below, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Bye bye!